Justin Baldoni has tried to put any sort of chit-chat of a feud with his It Ends With Us co-star Blake Lively to bed after the rumor mill went into overdrive about potential tension between the pair. So the rumors began earlier this month following the New York City premiere of their film, when fans noticed that those two weren't posing together on the red carpet. While Lively was photographed with her husband Ryan Reynolds, their mutual friend Hugh Jackman, and her co-stars Jenny Slate and Brandon Sklenner, Baldoni was seen appearing on the red carpet solo, or with his wife, Emily. Fans of Lively also have noticed that Blake isn't following Baldoni on Instagram. In fact, none of the cast members on the film are. Of course, sure, an Instagram follow isn't exactly concrete evidence when it comes to signs of a feud, but it does raise some eyebrows. In a recent interview with Entertainment Tonight, Baldoni suggested that Lively should direct the sequel to the film. He's like, I think Blake Lively's ready to direct. That's what I think. In another interview with Today, he mentioned how he had to work with complex personalities on set. He said every movie is a miracle, and then of course you're navigating complex personalities and trying to get everybody on the same page with the same vision, and mistakes are always made, and then you figure out how to move past them. On the other side, Blake Lively appeared to dodge a question about building trust with Baldoni as a scene partner during a Yahoo Entertainment interview that's been posted on TikTok. She said, I mean, this movie was such a challenge because you have scenes that are deeply painful and dramatic and physical, but you also have scenes that are full of levity and light and romance. And normally when I see this type of character on screen, you know what's gonna happen. And you're like, ah, that guy's full of red flags. Blake, who by the way is a co-executive producer on the project, also recently revealed that her husband, Ryan Reynolds, wrote a pivotal scene of the film. She said that the iconic rooftop scene was written by him. This is very interesting because she's like, oh yeah, no, he works on everything I do. I work on everything he does. So like, his wins, his celebrations are mine and mine are his. This has led to a lot of fan speculation that maybe the iconic duo possibly seized creative control of the film, and much to the director's dismay. Also, Justin Baldoni's podcast co-host and friend Liz Plank wasn't pictured with him on the red carpet either. She did attend the premiere. She posted about it to her Insta stories, but she didn't post her any pictures with Baldoni, and she didn't tag him in any of her posts. Also, they haven't released a new episode of their podcast since June. This is just overall so messy, so like, come on, concrete news. Any day now. As you may have heard, Drake and Kendrick Lamar are in the throes of an intense, and I don't know if it's ever gonna end, sort of rap battle. Although the two artists have long been at odds, this latest chapter ignited in March with the release of Like That, which quickly kicked off a really crazy back and forth that went on for months. It might have ended last month, but I'm not holding my breath. Dave Grohl seemingly tried to start a new feud with Taylor Swift. So those two were playing in London on the same night earlier this year, and on stage, Dave Grohl was like, I tell you man, you don't want to suffer the wrath of Taylor Swift. Apparently, wait for this, Grohl then said the Foo Fighters call this current tour the Errors Tour, and also went on to imply that Taylor doesn't sing live, even though we all know she does. JoJo Siwa admitted that her very public beef with Candace Bure was stupid, but that doesn't mean she wants to break bread with her. So JoJo Siwa reflected on this dispute, which began in July of 2022, when she called the former Full House star the rudest celebrity she'd ever met in an episode of her podcast. And she said that she regretted using Candace Bure's image in her TikTok because she's like, at the time they had no real beef. Although the Karma singer initially felt remorse for putting the sitcom star on blast, she quickly changed her tune when she learned that the devout Christian had supported a lot of shady organizations that do not support queer folks. JoJo Siwa, who was very openly gay, became even more infuriated when Candace Bure said in November of 2022 that this marriage is not traditional. After Billy Ray Cyrus split from his wife Tish in July of 2022, he moved on with singer Fire Rose, who he initially met while on set of Hannah Montana. Fire Rose was a guest star on the show when she was just 22. The pair, who have a 27-year age difference, worked together as music collaborators before getting engaged in November of 2022. Now Billy is breaking his silence after a private conversation between him and Fire Rose was publicly leaked. In July, the country star used social media to address the audio recording that went viral. And in that audio recording, he can be heard berating and belittling his, former wifey. the one he's trying to get a divorce from now. Cyrus claimed everything I thought I knew about her was a lie. Allegedly, Fire Rose was trying to take over his career, his life, and use his last name for her own gain. He concluded his post by warning Fire Rose that he would see her in court. Gigi Hadid is reportedly furious that her boyfriend Bradley Cooper's ex, Suki Waterhouse, negatively reflected on their breakup in an interview. According to sources, they've fallen out and there's no indication that things will ever be the same for them. Gigi is totally Team Bradley and taking this up as her own cause, and she isn't about to let this go. Bebe Rexa is calling out G-Eazy. On June 13th, Rexa shared a screen grab of a text message that she'd received from her team about potentially creating some social content with the rapper in New York. Now, Rexa collaborated with G-Eazy back in 2015 on their massive hit, Me, Myself, and I, and then they teamed up again for All Your Fault Part 1, the track FFF, as in F Fake Friends. But since then, it looks like this relationship soured. Rexa wrote in a since-deleted Instagram story, "At G-Eazy, you have my number. Why don't you text me and ask me yourself, you stuck-up ungrateful loser? You're lucky people are liking you again." Okay, so there's some tension there. For sure. Rebel Wilson's newest book, Rebel Rising, caused a lot of chatter when it was released, with some portions highly redacted earlier this year. The actor didn't hold back in her writing. She shared everything about her rocky upbringing, her fertility journey, and a lot of drama with Sacha Baron Cohen. Prior to the release of the book, she shared a video on Instagram where she said she had worked with a massive a-hole and there was a whole chapter dedicated to him in her book. Apparently the Borat star was trying to threaten her and attempting to stop the book from being published. She mentioned that when the two were on set together, it felt like every time she spoke to him, he'd mention that he wanted her to go nude in a future scene. And she's like, haha, I don't do nudity, Sacha. Well, at one point in the shoot, Wilson was told she needed to be on set to film some sort of additional scene, and when she arrived on set to film said scene, Sacha Baron Cohen pulled his pants down and said, "Okay, now I want you to stick your finger in a place that is not meant for fingers." Sacha Baron Cohen has denied any of this happened. Prior to the book's release, a representative forum said, "While we appreciate the importance of speaking out, these false claims are directly contradicted by extensive detailed evidence, including documents, film footage, and eyewitness accounts from those present before, during, and after production." Well, Wilson wrote that the experience led her to refuse to promote the movie at all, because that was the only power she felt she had left in the situation, which is very scary. Holly Madison isn't feeling very playful towards Crystal Hefner. The author called out the wife of the late Playboy founder, Hugh Hefner, for copying her writing style in her new memoir, Only Say Good Things, Surviving Playboy and Finding Myself, which was released earlier this year. Holly said, "Anybody who's read my book that came out 8 years ago and then read her book? Tell me the narrative doesn't sound exactly the same. Drives me up a wall." She said this during an episode of her podcast, Lady Gang. And while Holly admitted there would be definitely similarities between her 2015 bestseller and Crystal's work, seeing as they both had tumultuous relationships with Hugh and lived in the Playboy mansion, she said that reading Crystal's story felt like reading her own book. She weaves fairy tale references in and out just like I did and uses a lot of the same psychological catchphrases and stuff like that, Holly said. "I'm weirded out by it, especially since she had a ghostwriter. Like, do your research and don't copy." And for Taylor Swift, some feuds are hard to bury. It's a fact only proven earlier this year with the release of her 11th and a surprise double album, The Tortured Poets Department, in which the Grammy winner seems to take a very thinly veiled jab at Kim Kardashian. Those two have been feuding forever. The jab comes in the form of a track on the part 2 of the album titled Thank You, Amy. And yeah, the capitalized letters do indeed spell out the name Kim. What followed was a bit of a retelling of Taylor and Kim's history in the form of Taylor versus a high school bully. Well, that's all for today, folks. See ya!